Amplified Bible, Classic Edition, YouVersion app, Judges 7. The Jerubbaal, Baal, that is the Gideon, and all the people who were with him rose early in the camp beside the spring of Harod. And the camp of Midian was north of them to the hill of Morah in the valley. The Lord said to Gideon, the people who are with you are too many to me to give to the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel boast about themselves against me, saying, my own hand has delivered me. So now proclaim in the ears of the men, saying, whoever is fearful and trembling, let him turn back and depart from Mount Gilead. And 22,000 of the men returned, but 10,000 remained. And the Lord said to Gideon, the men are still too many. Bring them down into the water, and I will test them for you there, and when he of whom I say to you, this man shall go with you, and he of whom I say to you, this man shall not go with you, shall not go. So he brought the men down to the water, and the Lord said to Gideon, everybody who laps up the water with his tongue, as a dog laps it, you shall set by himself. Likewise, everyone who bows down on his knees to drink. And the number of those who lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, was 300 men. But all the rest of the people bowed down upon their knees to drink water. And the Lord said to Gideon, with the 300 men who lapped, I will deliver you, and give the Midianites into your hand. Let all the others return, every man to his home. So the people took provision and their trumpets in their hands, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man to his home, and retained those 300 men. And the host of Midian was below him in the valley. That same night the Lord said to Gideon, arise, go down against their camp, for I have given it into your hands. But if you fear to go down, go with Purah, your servant, down to the camp. And you shall hear what they say, and afterward your hands will be strengthened to go down against the camp. Then he went down with Purah, his servant, to the outposts of the camp and armed men. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the sons of the east, lay along the valley like locusts for multitude, and their camels were without number, as the sand of the seashore for the multitude. When Gideon arrived, behold, a man was telling a dream to his comrade, and he said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and behold, a cake of barley bread trembled into the camp, and the Midian and sand came to the tent and struck it so that it fell, and turned it upside down, so the tent lay flat. And his comrade replied, this is nothing else but the sword of Gideon son of Joash, a man of Israel, into his hand. God has given Midian and all the hosts. When Gideon heard of telling the dream and its interpretation, he worshipped and returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, from the Lord has given into your hand the host of Midian. And he divided the 300 men into 3 companies. And he put into his hands of all of them trumpets and empty pitchers with torches inside the pitchers. And he said to them, look at me, then do likewise. When I come to the edge of the camp, do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, I all who are with me. Then you blow the trumpet also on every side of all the camp, and shout, for the Lord and for Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outskirts of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, when the guards had just been changed. And they blew the trumpet and smashed the pitchers that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpet and shattered their pitchers, holding the torches in their hands in their right hand, the trumpets to blow, leaving no chance to use swords. And they cried, "The sword for the Lord and Gideon." They stood, every man in the place round about the camp, and all the Midianites' army ran. They cried out and fled. When Gideon's men blew the 300 trumpets, the Lord set every Midianite sword against his comrade and against all the army, and the army fled as far as Bethshite towards Zerah, as far as the border of Abela and Tabbath. And the men of Israel were called together out of Naphtali and Jasher and Manasseh, and they pursued Midian. And Gideon sent messengers throughout the hill country of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites, and take all the intervening fords as far as Beth Barah, and also the Jordan." So that the men of Ephraim were gathered together and took all the fords as far as Beth Barah, and also the Jordan. And the men of Ephraim took the two princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeb, and they slew Oreb in the rock of Oreb, and Zeb, and they slew the winepress of Zeb and pursued Midian. And they brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon beyond the Jordan.